Okay, a very good afternoon and welcome to YB Senator Isaiah Jacob, All-Party Parliamentary Group Malaysia Sustainable Development Goals APPGM SDG Committee Member, Prof. Ulung Dato' Dr. Samsul Amri Baharudin, Founding Director of ITA UKM, our esteemed author and also Head Secretary of APPGM SDG, Yang Berbahagia Prof. Dato' Dr. Denison Jayasooria, beloved guests and everyone to this momentous occasion, the MITRA, Past and Present and Future Possibilities book launch. I am Darshini and honored to be the MC of today's event. Before we proceed, please allow me to say a few words in Tamil. எண்ணிய எண்ணியாக எய்து எண்ணியார் திண்ணியர் ஆகப் பெறின் என்ற திருவள்ளுவரின் குரலுக்கேற்ப இன்று நாம் அனைவரும் எண்ணப்படி மித்ரா கடந்த காலம், நிகழ்காலம் மற்றும் எதிர்கால வாய்ப்புகள் புத்தக வெளியீட்டு விழாவிற்கு ஒன்று கூடியிருக்கும் அனைவருக்கும் என்னுடைய இனிய வணக்கம். Okay, we have gathered here to celebrate not just the book publication, but the culmination of profound insights and visionary ideas. The wonderful book was authored by none other than our talented Professor Dr. Denison Jayasooria, the Head Secretary of APPGM SDG, is a testament and also to endure our pursuit of knowledge and quest for progress. As a welcoming speech, please allow me to welcome the booster of the energy of today's event, none other than Mr. James Ryan Raj, the Director of Constituency Coordination Department of APPGM SDG. Welcome, Booster Man.
This is Saval. Okay, thank you so much, Darshini, for that very vibrant welcome and introduction. So I think I won't take much of the time because I think we have to move on to a very important occasion why we are here today. So, so this is a very significant day, I would say. It's very important because we all come together for this book launch. I think all of us, MITRA is something, it could be, also can be very controversial, but it can be also very passionate about it, right? So that because we want to see the future, how we should go, and also to remember what happened in the past and what is current. So I think that's the whole idea of this book. The Prof. Denison Jayasooria has initiated this. And then we want to also acknowledge all the wonderful people who are here with us. I really want to be thankful for Prof. Ulung who is here. Please give him a warm welcome. He's the best man, he's the right man to actually review this. I think he will have a lot of ideas and also somewhat of advice, how we can actually move forward and so forth. And of course, Prof. Denison Jayasooria, ever since I knew him, since when I was 20 years old and now I'm 51, and we've always seen a man who is so passionate about community development, bring about change and so forth. And since 1998, he has been working, with the Indian communities, and he knows the best. He's the only one I could say that he knows the best about the community's heartbeat, what are the issues, how we could actually address this. He has written many books. I think the previous one was Contemporary Malaysian Indian with Prof. And there's Nathan and so forth. And now we can see another book that has emerged, and now it has come for our reading, and also to take note of what has happened in the past, because it's always easy to forget the history. What has happened in the past? I think this book has clearly identified what happened in the past, what is the present, and what future possibilities that we together can support MITRA and build the organization for betterment and so forth. So I think, and I'm also very proud, and thank you Prof. Denison for giving me an opportunity to write 2 chapters over there. And this is a good experience. I also, I'm very proud that I could actually contribute some of my thoughts, some of my ideas, concerns, how we can actually build the work MITRA and so forth. So I think it is hope today that our discussion will open up new opportunities. That's the whole idea. why we have gathered today, so that we can open up new opportunities. So we want you all to engage with us. We can agree to disagree. So because it's a democratic nation, so you can disagree, you can agree, or you can agree to disagree. All right.
Fireballs.
Sorry.
No fireballs.
No fireballs. I think we all are mature people. I think we are gathered here. You have responded to our calling, and we know that you too want to see the change. Am I right? You too want to see a change, and you want to be part of this, to bring about this change. So I think today's hope that the discussion will open up new opportunity and pathways, so that in the midst of many challenges, a lot of discussion on MITRA, whether it's good or bad, but we want to see the change and how we could bring MITRA to a better future direction and so forth. I always believe that to create a better future, we need to know what happened in the past, and what's happening now, so that we can create a better future for our future generation. I think with that note, once again, we want to welcome all of you. Thank you for coming. Probably a few more will be coming with us, and thank you so much. And also, we need to give a very warm clap to our Prof. Denison, the man who the moment when you go to the Google and you say Indians writing and all that, only Prof. Denison's name will come out a lot. All about you type MITRA or you type anything, Prof. Denison's writings, articles, publications, all will come. So that's the man who has so much of passion. He has put forth this book. I think it's worth buying it, worth reading it, and then let's collectively do something for a better future of our Indian community. Thank you. God bless you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. J. Your speech always fills the room with energy and a wake-up call for us here today. So, next, the most weighted moment of today's event, a conversation with the mindful author, Prof. Dr. Denison Jayasooria, the man behind the pen, who has written a great book that contains 3 major chapters with a great resource material, and also a book that made us to understand the dynamics that shape our past, define our present, and also ultimately steer our future. So, let's welcome Prof. Dr. Denison Jayasooria, who analyst of the section, Dr. Theory Pen, and Ms. Jayaraman. Welcome.
Right, a very good afternoon, everyone. So, distinguished guests, friends, partners, good afternoon, and thank you for being with us here today. Today, Ken and I have the pleasure and privilege to have a conversation with Professor Dr. Denison Jayasooria before he launches his book. And so, welcome, Dato. Thank you for joining us as our guest today. Congratulations on your book. Just a heads up, today's conversation will be a mix of a hard talk and a talk show.
Very good.
Yeah. Okay, so Dr. Denison, there is a term that you often use, which is reflective practitioner, and we see you walk the talk and encourage us to do the same. So I feel like you've captured that in your book, how you encourage the readers to pause and reflect honestly on Mitra's journey, where they can ask some real, honest, and sometimes difficult but necessary questions. So if I may, for a moment, to share my own brief reflection during my drive to office this morning, which is that this book, as much as you wrote it, is not really all about you, but it's also about a wider, nothing about you, okay? But it's also about MITRA and more likely the community who's out there. We think of perhaps the student who desires to further his or her studies but doesn't have the opportunity to. We think of perhaps a father who works 3 jobs but but is struggling to sleep at night thinking about the daily debts he is in. And so just like the GPS, if I may, this book can act as a contribution to reorientate us on this journey that we're all together on. And just as, you know, like a driver in the driver's seat, we use the rear view mirror to look back, the side mirrors to look where we're at, and the windshield to look forward. I think we're on that journey together. And with that analogy, there are many questions that may arise from that. Where are we heading? Who's sitting beside us, you know? But I think most importantly, perhaps the question that we can begin with is, why are we driving in the first place? So let me begin. So in your book you speak about there being some form of institutional memory loss, or in hence words, political amnesia. And 16 years has passed since MITRA has been established. So as someone who has had extensive experience as an academic, an activist, a public intellectual, working on community development over the past 3 decades, is both a participant and an observer. Please share with us, what was your purpose of writing this book? Why now? And how is it significant to you?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie, for this style of Q&A. Originally, we thought I'll just do a summary that brought us the analysis. Then we thought that in a world of all talk shows, this might come out better. Now, recently, the Ministry of National Unity hosted a workshop, a planning workshop on MITRA, and it was a 2-day event. And as I participated, I think Dr. Joseph was also there, and a few others. I realized we each time talk about MITRA or SDGs are starting from like as though it's new. There is no recollection of the past. So any planning meeting that you have sat through for your organization or me would always have what happened before. What were the achievements, what were the challenges, what worked well, what didn't work well, how do we go next? That wasn't presented at all. And a lot of people were talking with no knowledge of the background at all, or the context, or even having read the Malaysian Indian blueprint, or the subsequent action plan that was done. So that's where then I thought, at that time, Pemandu was assigned. Question mark, how much they were paid is a different question. But then we felt who were actors, because I got into the scene with under 𝙛𝙪𝙩𝙪's invitation in 1997, right down to 2008. So we were thick and thin of policy discussion. We were previewed to cabinet papers, various other things. And so I thought, can I find all the whatever I have left behind? Fortunately, my wife didn't throw the boxes away, and somehow we found the 2010, 2011. I found the appointment letter signed. And one of the very interesting things of the Prime Minister then was he hand-minuted instructions to people. And I have actually the original handwritten note on my appointment, as well as the allocation of funding. And then he directs it to somebody, and then it's apparently minuted, gazetted, and it's acted upon. So the background was that I coined this word, and others have institutional, lack of institutional memory, or you call it political amnesia. So we tend to forget. And a lot of people, and some of us as we are growing older, tend to be fearful if we lose our memory. And so it's to capture that. And it's also to introduce a formal discussion. What was there before? What were the original promises? What was done? And what needs to be done now? Has it changed? Were there achievements? Were there challenges in the process? It's to search for the material. And you will be shocked that there is not a single report in the last 16 years on MITRA by anyone, said it. So I checked with all the people who are around. They said all the reports were internal reports were presented to Prime Minister or ministers and not in public review, except press statement, YouTube, and then you try to reconcile press statements. It's a big, millions were given here, hundreds, thousands people came, then you cannot tally the numbers. But nonetheless, it is important to record the key milestones. And Debbie and Ken, that's what I thought that will be helpful, and it will help the next generation of scholars. Mine is not the end story. It's not the only book that should come out. It seemed to be one of the first books, if at all. A lot of articles, a lot of press statements, but no serious academic writing or what. And so mine is a Google search, putting together, handset search. I know a lot of people here helped me trying to look at the handset, read the relevant parts, and so forth. So I hope it will, and read it for its worth, and then see how we can build up. There will be a lot of gaps. I've got one or two people to look at it as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. And now continue from that field. So, Dr. Denison, you mentioned very important points such as context, having formal discussions, and also as a start for research. So this is not the end all, but it's just a beginning for more debates and discussions. So going deeper into the book, our friends have not really managed to read the book. So you've mentioned something very close to you and also to us, I think, and Prof. Samsul as our guru, in many ways, of action research. So when we, as action researchers, we talk about having information, data, data-driven policy making, and then accompanying that is public reasoning. So following up from what you mentioned on amnesia, on memory loss, you spoke about public reasoning, and we know that when there was a news cycle carried out on MITRA, everyone was going everywhere, and there was a lot of discussions and many things. So how would you, Dr. Denison, when you talk of public reasoning, how would you situate your book within an atmosphere where there seems to be no room for proper critical discussion, and how do we move away from this showmanship, partisanship, and also this polarized debate to focus on more important things through reasoning, public discourse, and for example, public discussions?
Thanks, Ken. I think in the book I made reference to Professor Amartya Sen, who many of us quote on the area of development. He is an economist, developmental economist. But also Amartya Sen's work, which many of us like to read, is the argumentative Indian. So we always, people say, ini orang India semua kacau-kacau. Gaduh, mabuk, and all that. But if you read Amartya Sen's book, the argumentative Indian and the tradition is actually a high virtue, not a negative stigmatization of a community, but actually a good virtue of public reasoning. Public reasoning, I think we all picked it from Prof. Samsul, but it's the whole area, the space to sit down, to say point A, point B, point C, and how we might differ or agree. And that's the attempt in this book, to say, look, we are shouting down at each other. Just put a YouTube MITRA MPs, and you would see how everyone is shouting each other down. But where is the reasonable, reasoned discussion on achievements, failures, what was done, what is positive? And Ken used the one we tend to use action research in a longitudinal way of having a target group and then evaluating the output or income impact over longitudinal. So it could be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. But here is 16 years, the policy impact and so forth. So the action research in policy is an important component, but not well developed. So change of government, change of prime minister, there's change of slogans, ideas, but development planning task doesn't really change very much between 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 12th, now the 13th is coming. Some cosmetic changes here and there, political, but the substance of it. So we are looking at MITRA from the point in the introduction. So these are the broader areas that we need to look at. We're not just here talking about what happened to the 100 billion, who stole it, what are the court cases. So if you came with that kind of a notion, you might not find it in the book. There will be some references to MACC or the Auditor General's report. We put in the appendices the extract of the Auditor General's assessment of 2018 and some reference to MACC. But no information here in the public reasoning of one MP shouting out another, whether from the same party or separate party. None of that comes here because it's not substantive argument. It is looking at some of the issues. Sorry, it's wrong. Now my team has got a cue to look at the watch in case I go a bit wrong because they don't have a timekeeper. Okay, all right.
Thank you, Doctor, for that. As we move on, in your first chapter you shared about 6 phases from headache to MITRA, and one of those phases focuses on the Malaysian Indian blueprint. You shared that what is most significant and historic about that development policy launched in 2017 was that it was the first government-sponsored document for a minority group. And since then, there have been efforts towards drawing up specific development plans for minority groups such as orang asli. So as we think about and talk about the Malaysian Indian blueprint, so it's been 7 years since launch. What is your take on it? And what value and implication do you think that piece of document holds in our present time?
I think the Malaysian Indian blueprint, not many people actually appreciate the development component of such a document. And if you have gone through the document, it has the stamp of a Prime Minister, Prime Minister's office, and it has the committee headed by the Director General of Economic Planning Group. And so that sometimes is lost because many politicians who were on the opposite camp actually ran it down, linking it to a political party, possibly in the launch, in the appendices with all kinds of names added on. It might actually betray the substantive work that was done, one by consultants and other by academics, and the referencing in the book, which I think most people won't read, is actually quite enlightening in the context because Prof. Nathan and me, that book is extensively quoted in the footnotes. Not everybody reads footnotes. Some of us only read footnotes to see whether our book is quoted or not. But that's substantive. But then he has asked an interesting question. It's a pointer in the discussion because we are linking it to Amartya Sen's work on development as freedom and the notion of development and the place for minority community. This then was the singular development agenda of a government that released it by a prime minister. Whether political, whatever, it's in the books, it's a document that is there. There's the stamp of a prime minister and so forth. Now the question is, it would have been great if the government went on to develop similar such document for the Orang Asli, for the Penang, and so forth. The current Unity Minister during that workshop told me that was his objective.
Yeah.
He wanted to look at MITRA as an example and wanted to move on to Sarawak minority tribal groups and how they are excluded and what affirmative action needs to take place. So it's not just Indians. Indians here, not all Indians. Maybe the first row of Indians here might not need MITRA support. They can support MITRA. So it's which group of Indians are needing this kind of special intervention, and which group of Ibans, Kadazans, Orang Asli, Penang, the subgroups need. And if that was taken into account, then this inclusive development agenda would have been key. We are struggling now with a needs approach. I know Prof. Nathan always in our discussion said we must only go needs approach. And Muhammad Khalid in his writings, also an economist, development economist here, Khalid then is highlighting you still need targeted intervention. Because poverty in the Orang Asli community, very different poverty in the Malay community, very different from poverty among Indians, the features of poverty. And so it's not just moving people across the poverty line in income, there's the culture of poverty and so forth. Very different for people in Sabah. We're doing a study now on the Sabah poverty, which are boat people who don't have even land. They're living on boats of Lahat Dato and so forth. Dr. Su is doing some work with the researchers in Sabah. I hope that's helpful. Okay. All right.
Okay, Dr. Denison, thank you. So now we've covered the context for the book with a bit of public reasoning, public discourse, and then we focus a bit more specific on the blueprint, which I thought to Dr. Denison, not many have been familiar with the blueprint. But now I want to also go into the book again and bring out a theme that is very important, the question of development. I think Dr. Denison mentioned it, the development component of the Malaysian Indian blueprint. But for the benefit of our audience, let me just read a paragraph from the book on development. So the author writes, while the development focus is on one community and group, the overall development thrust must be holistic, inclusive, and consultative. This is within a policy environment that has the right to development focus. Only then will it be possible for all communities to have equal opportunities and reduce inequalities. So again, Dr. Denison, he refers to Amartya Sen, development as freedom. And I think Dr. Denison has a very agile and nuanced understanding of development where he's able to focus in on the specific, but also look at it from a broader national level. And that's why he talks about other communities as well. But in this case, in your discussion, Dr. Denison, you mentioned how inclusive and equitable development is important, and you highlighted many issues, and you also mentioned that it has been 60 years now. But I think as some of the issues that some of our communities are facing have gone beyond 16 years. Issues like housing, issues like poverty, issues like land ownership. Those are very urgent, critical issues, some which have even lasted for 30, 40 years and have not been resolved until today. And then just to share with our audiences also the work that the SDG has done has also revealed and brought to surface these findings. But Dr. Denison, I want to ask you, 40 years ago, 16 years ago, and today, what remains the challenges to such a equitable and inclusive development? What's hindering us from talking about this, from achieving this, from finding strategies to address problems faced by the Malaysian Indian community in specific, for example, and also the larger Malaysian society?
I think as a sociologist working, I of course started most of my field research and study on the Indian community, and so was very ethnicized in my outlook and work. But after the 11 years with MIC and the YSS, I then joined Prof. Samsul for another 11 or 12 years and still am associated with the Institute to then look at development from across ethnicity and so forth, to look at needs-based approach, rights-based approach to development in that. But I think the real change and impact for me is the work that we have been doing in the last 4 years at APPGM, which is the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Sustainable Development Goals. The approach is quite a simple one, and Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Economy and Parliament agreed. We work with a Member of Parliament. We'll go to his or her kawasan and spend 4 or 5 days and try and find out who are the most left behind people in this community. It could be Malays, Chinese, Indians, Muslims, and so forth. So we met fishing, we met petty farmers, we met people living in high-rise flats, and so forth. And in that we began to see the realities of the struggles of people on the ground is actually very real. So we have sat in meetings, let's say, we now know offhand, where is the nasi lemak shop or the goreng pisang on the way between KL to Rantau Panjang. We can stop to makan and all that. Because we were up Jerli, Rantau Panjang, all these places to Kota Baru to look at these issues, Tumpat and so forth. And in that we begin to see some of the real struggles of the Malay families. Unbelievable issues of fishermen whose livelihoods are cut to 50% because somebody cleared the mangrove swamp, and they were powerless to effect that change. So someone in the land office, district office, cut the mangrove swamp, and now we are spending money planting the mangrove swamp because they are coastal people. We met people who said, I waited 60 years for a jambatan, it never came. They said, kenapa you tak boleh dapat jambatan di sini? Kamu orang Bumi Putra, Melayu, Islam. Then they said, diskriminasi. I said, apa macam diskriminasi? Orang India saja kata, dia kena diskriminasi. The people in that island said that to us because they didn't vote a particular political party at that time. So all these are realities on the ground. So the reality I would feel is, while Malaysia has done a lot to improve quality of life and so forth, the deprivations on the ground is excessive. And this is actually needing to be seen from a multi-dimensional perspective. Plus, you need to see from the kind of delivery institutions whether they are sensitive. Now, Dr. Su compiled the report that time of 85 parliamentary constituencies, and we came up with 28 major themes, and one of the major issues is welfare. People's access to welfare services, the PBE experiences of not just one particular community, many communities. And that's something we are giving feedback to. Our struggle, Ken, is we tend to feel that poverty is the same for all. And so our delivery institutions are not as sensitive. I would feel there is a lack of anthropologists, sociologists, social workers on the ground who have an empathy for people who will work with them. So somewhere along the line, we are not putting the right people in the right agencies, in the right spots. Some people would feel, even in MITRA, with all the PTT officers, they might not be social science people. They might not actually have the background or expertise in addressing poverty and poverty groups. So who then does the retraining, redirection, and approach? So those are the massive struggles that we are seeing. So when we go to the ground now, why do you have to do it? Why is it that Paniir and others are coordinating 800 micro programs on the ground when you got so many government agencies doing it? Why do we have to do it? So somewhere something is going wrong. So even if it's 100 billion or 1 billion in that context like that. So I would feel that it might sound too idealistic, but I would think capacity building of people at the civil service, at the district level, we have talked about this, people who are non-degree staff, who are the front liners of government, who might have Form 5, they are what we call what level S something, they are the pegawai pembantu, they have demotivated, underpaid, overworked people who are the first point of contact to an elderly woman, a disabled family, and they, not that in any fault of their own. So what is their capacity of training these people so that, and to encourage them would be what I would, and this applies to the Indian community as well. I think, is 𝙛𝙪𝙩 here? Yeah, 𝙛𝙪𝙩. I accompanied 𝙛𝙪𝙩 to Tambon, and then now they are doing in 𝗪𝗪𝗪. I think most of the researchers are full of tears when you sit down to hear the story. It's like a Tamil movie. You can't believe how people can have so many complex problems in one family. And the in-depth interviews they gave me, this form, I think Debbie and Dr. Sue did, and they all felt, you know, as head of secretariat, I must sit down and fill the form with the family. It took me 1.5 hours to 2 hours to fill it. I had an assistant because you have to key it and all that. But it's quite revealing to the complexities of problem. So what kind of intervention must you have for a dysfunctional family with a child, with the parent, with the mother, the complexities? And we just assume anybody, siapa pun boleh buat ini kerja, tak payah, except if you are a doctor, engineer, so forth. But in social science, anybody can do research. I think Sue with anthropology background, there's a lot of problems reorientating non-social science people in the world there. So those are some of the struggles. BPGM is a fantastic example. But in the book, definitely examples are being quoted, and there are publications and other bit of propaganda and we do highlight that it is possible to do some of the things, and we are testing it out now in our team. So we are multiracial, multi-religious, multidisciplinary in our group. And we are attempting, and we spend money. Let me just close with this, and you have more questions. I was very careful from going to Kelantan because my parents always said, you know, pass is very this one. So whether you are, you know, PhD or all that, you still have to appear. When you go to a kampung, you see all the poppies, all that. Do you know that now when we go to Kelantan, we have to make sure we have a big book, because, or we have to take our big van and go, because we will get rambutan, We get all the Malay quiz, everybody, and then have to book those because the people, although they are economically not well to do, are extremely hospitable and they are generous and they are so appreciative that you have come to talk to them and visit them and they end up feeding us and giving us things. That's the experience. I don't know about others. I'm in that sense not promoting that, but I'm just saying the stereotypes that we have and how we need to break it. And in this, the challenge of non-Indians working with Indians and Indians working with Indians can have cultural problems in addressing such issues.
Thank you for that. And as we move on to a little prickly issue, the AG's report 2018 on MITRA. It was really, as a reader, it was like a reality check for MITRA, and it shined a light on MITRA and surfaced several issues, including misappropriation of funds. And it had implications not just on MITRA, the leadership, MITRA the agency, but to a certain extent left the B40 Indians questioning, is there still a dedicated institution that they can turn to and trust to advocate for their rights and needs? And as of today, there has been no statement yet from MITRA regarding the AG's report. So amidst this shadow seemingly cast on MITRA and the somewhat fractured trust of the poor Indians, there remains an opportunity for MITRA to rebuild and rebrand itself. And that's what you talked about this a little bit earlier, about people, capacity building, putting the right people at the right place. So at its core, if we think about it, MITRA is made up of people. And the people can be the greatest asset. So in your opinion, Dato, what are some ways MITRA can strengthen the leadership, employees, as well as reshape the culture?
Okay, thank you, Debbie. When you get hold of the copy afterwards, we are not doing the traditional book launch style in the Indian community where you come up and give a donation and take the book. Our book is 35 ringgit and you can take a copy, but when you see it, Debbie already said about chapter 1, the 6 phases. Because one needed to see the change with the change of the Prime Minister, change of government, change of politics, or even what took place. So the phases is important. Before the challenges, actually I spoke about some of the major achievements of MITRA, and it's important to capture that. But I think the most revealing thing is the Auditor General's report. We did follow up. There were no charges made on the basis of the Auditor General's report. But if you read the paragraphs, it's talking about how the funds were allocated, who took the decision, the conflicts of interest, the transparency to it. Now, what James actually does later, I know it might come, it's James. Yes. Oh, okay. Is James actually compares UNDP grants, the Garrison Hazana grants, and APPGM grants. UNDP gives something like 250,000 ringgit to NGOs to do development work. Jayaraman Hazana can go up to 2 to 3 million in the funding to organizations. Jayaraman Hazana has not had a single public complaint about their disbursement and things like that. But the Auditor General is talking about monitoring, follow-up, report taking, all these basic things. So what is the concern is not just the disbursement of money and who is doing it, but how we can effectively manage a fund of 100 million. I know a lot of people want 1 billion and so forth. If we cannot manage 100 million in an accountable, professional way, how can we ask for more? is the question from the Auditor Generals. But the scope of MITRA or SEDI's work is much bigger. The 100 million, the few millions came only subsequently in the SEDI role and then MITRA. And there's a major shift that we begin to see. The Attorney General highlights that. I think James and more James looks at the SOP, and he published the SOP that's on the website in 2003. It doesn't answer the questions. So whoever runs MITRA, if they don't attend to the Auditor General's criticism and plug up the organization, transparency, accountability, decision making, public participation, they will face the same problem. That, I mean, I'm not saying this committee would. I think the current committee of MPs would do it differently. They are sensitive to it, but that's the question. So leadership and employers is important to reshape. The accusations of the past is only some people are in control. So who is in government, who is in control, who is left out? And there isn't public participation, consultative group, cross-representation in it. There is a photo, that's when you are in the photo, we are sitting side by side. I found the photo. It was a consultative group that was set up to discuss. I think that group was quite large, 30, 40 people, who that time SEDI presented their plans, and we were not decision makers, but we are brought in to give feedback that met once in 3 months or 4 months. So the consultative group, the cabinet committee, and the executive teams are actually quite important in the decision-making process. So I think it's quite important, and we are benchmarking it. It's not my assessment, it's the Auditor General. Who am I to question an Auditor General who looks at and says? He even says there's conflict of interest of the people who took the decisions. So that means you have minutes, who sat at the meeting, who's the money went to, and things like that. So we have to have good governance principles, which are all operational in the one. It shouldn't be that the Indian community should be excused from it. So I think that's why James went on to look at UNDP, fund management and monitoring, and Jayaraman. I've shared that time with MITRA, even now, that they should spend time with Datuk Shahira, but she's leaving Jayaraman. But to look at the Jayaraman gets 100 million every year to grant funds to NGOs working among the poor. Many organizations have got it. Jayaraman, MOM, allocated 15 million to parliamentarians in addition to our funds to look at policy solutions on the ground. And they are working with us to work with parliamentarians on this.
Thank you, Mr. Denison. So right now, we are almost at the end of the session before we pass on for our final address by Professor Supervisors. So to just sort of wrap up and to conclude, maybe just a few more points. Dr. Denison, you talked about Mr. James and Mr. Paniir, but maybe just ask to reaffirm in terms of moving forward. So you included 3 chapters, right? 2 by Mr. James and 1 by Mr. Paniir, and on themes of community development, community-based work, and then the importance of evaluation, monitoring in the development process, and also to manage funds. And I think these chapters and the individuals, the authors who wrote them are very amazing and incredible people, because I think, just to say among ourselves here, it's not easy to find people who want to do many people come for meetings and say, oh, I'm just here to give opinions. We all know after this, so I'm just here to give opinions. So these are people who really are on the ground working tirelessly to make sure that development projects are run. So I wanted to ask you, when you invited them, what was the motivation and what did you hope to add on to the book and to maybe?
You know, a lot of people criticize 𝙁𝗪𝗪 Associates when they were asked to do this consultancy on MITRA. I immediately texted 𝙁𝗪𝗪𝙩 to ask him whether it's his team. And when he said it was his team, I decided to spend the 2 days at the workshop. Because people fail to realize that the 𝙁𝗪𝗪 Associates are consultants to 48 over countries around the world. And we actually missed a unique opportunity for a global benchmarking institution and scholars to actually do an analysis, review and plans. Now, what does a consultant do? They take the money and cut the people or consultants. They facilitate. They never predetermine anything. They ask questions, they facilitated discussion. So they were quite strict with us. They told me at first only I can attend. I can't take the second person. Then finally they said I can take one more person. And it was between James and Paniir. And I think James had 1 or 2 more words. So Paniir came with me. And Paniir has a certain expertise that we have discovered along the line. And so as we listened to the discussion, I asked Paniir, you are given 100 billion. How will you divide the money? How will you do it? And Paniir wrote a paper which we presented on day 2. Of course, all this is thrown out of the window. But Paniir, you want to stand up and say brief, just a word on. So Paniir is now given 100 billion. What would he do with the money for the interest of the community?
Thank you, Doctor. I think on the disbursement, it's based on our experience in APPGM as well as the other analysis with the SDGs and also other foundations. Because you see in Malaysia, every bank has a foundation. Every big GRC has a foundation. Most of them are actually focusing on thematic-based development work. For example, like special needs, and so on. So these are the ways that funders work at. When it comes to big funding, they are mostly going into disbursement based on thematic as well as disbursement based on the community needs. So based on that analysis, we came up with these categories of disbursement for MITRA, where the first category would be education for public policy, advocacy and delivery. Where in the 𝙁𝗪𝗪 Associate session yesterday, in the Department MITRA, they identified about 13 issues which are really policy-related interventions issues, which I think the work for policy, I think we all here know that it takes longer time to resolve and discuss and so on. So kind of a special education for the public policy delivery is important. That's number one. Number two, under the public policy, we have recorded a high number of poverty, okay, although to all the races, including Indians, that Dawson said about 5.4% on the absolute poverty. So this particular education would have helped in identifying the particular families who are under the poverty rate, and we can do some intervention with other education and so on. That's number one. Number two, on the micro solutions, small grants for the NGOs around the country, which now, of course, it is part of the MITRA 100 million initiative, but we are actually suggesting to put it as a micro grant, a value of 40,000, 50,000 for the period of 3 to 4 months, 5 months program, which we feel when we localized a program with the local NGO, the local community will have more confidence on the partner and so on. Like we have many of our partners here, like Mr. Moniz here, he's doing program with Brian in Kampong, 𝙪𝙧𝙚, sorry. So that particular location, I think we can't simply enter. Like let's say we take a bus today, we go to 𝙪𝙧𝙚. We can't simply enter the place. So a bit hostile. So we need a local partner who is committed to do a long-term solution. So such micro solutions are actually vital when it comes to local community development. So that's second category. And third category is actually nationwide big grants where we also need national level programs. So I was also involved in, before APPGM, I was involved with EWLF, rather this year, former chairman. So we were doing debate development program on advocacy, getting students into ILP and IKBS and so on. That was the funding given by the former government, a kind of a big funding, $1 million and more. So such big grants also needed, apart from the micro grants and so on. So similar to the debate development program, we do also need a very holistic development programs. We also need higher education guidance programs nationwide, so that we get the different needs of the people, students, underachieving, higher achieving students and so on. So such big grants are also needed. Apart from that, MITRA direct initiatives as what we have now, the dialysis payments, the one-off payment to the universities, but can be done in a little scrutiny and so on. So and then the final one is the special scholarship program where we don't simply give a scholarship, we make it as a program so that the students actually come back and serve in their semester breaks, in projects, in poverty discussions and so on, poverty survey and so on. So that they, although they are professionals out there, but their mindset and also heart will be a social worker. And the service will be more holistic and so on. So these are the 5 categories that we really developed through our work experience and so on. Thank you.
So we thought it's important for even MITRA to have more public engagement. Where did the money go in 2022, 2023? The website now gives a summary, but it doesn't give links to the actual actor or best practices or details. But 2022 data and 2023 data is up on the MITRA website. So Paniir did that. Now, why I asked James to look through some points is largely because a lot of the effort is actually ad hoc. Yayasan Hazana stopped all ad hoc funding. They went more to community-based, and then they want to see transformation over 2 or 3 years. You can process an application and then by June give the money, and then by November you want to complete it. Community program almost impossible to run like that. Maybe you can build a bridge or something. But so Yayasan Hazana and all change the parameters, and we ourselves take a more development community approach. So I thought, James, you want to say a few words?
Yes.
So that it's a variation from my walks.
Okay, thank you so much. As I was mentioning the 2 chapters, actually the first, chapter 3, we actually talks about the empowerment and transformation model. This is a Chinese proverb, I think you all know. If you want to grow people, I mean, if you want 100 years of process, so it looks at about 4 different models. One is the steps to organizing the local community. And then it also looks at the value transformation model. And then the other one is the empowerment model. The third one is the empowerment model. That means when you actually start with the local community, you gather the people, you organize the community, you establish trust, you establish integrity, you establish leadership. So once we move on to that, then we are bringing in the other model, which is the sustainability-based model. That means you empower them, then you entrust them to take on. So that is, these are the 4 different models that looks into organizing the community. So, so it is not like, like a one-off or ad hoc or touch and go. It doesn't happen because most of the projects that we see that MITRA provides the fund, it is on ad hoc basis. It's not organizing the community. So you see that the community is widely, dispersed, and we are not united. So that is only them not only looking at their own needs, but also to engage with other communities in the local community, with the different entities like Bukunta, Tangga, Resident Association, and so forth. So this is how we should move. It only can be done when you organize the community and you work and you walk along with the community, then you'll be able to achieve what you really actually want to achieve for the community, for the betterment of the community.
Thank you.
Mr. James, anything else you'd like to add before we close up the session? Any last buy the book or?
Well, I think read the book, give your feedback, help it stir further discussion, public opinion on what took place in the past. But we are not ending with trying to find fault in the past. But we need to now ensure that in the future we will be united. Don't try and discredit the blueprint or the other things. Set the SOP right, be more transparent, look at the various things, let's manage the funds well, and engage the community in a deeper way. I would say the book calls for depoliticizing MITRA 1 and unbureaucratizing. Yeah, we all thought that being part of the bureaucracy, BRT and all is good, but you also have certain drawbacks. So it is interesting for us to look at all the Bumiputera development institutions are actually not government agencies, whether it's MARA, all these kind of groups that were set up were special purpose delivery institutions. So we can look at other mechanisms in that way to see what can come out of the bureaucracy of it. But I go through quite a lot of detail about the Director General's position. Is it JUSA C? Is it 54? Is it JUSA B? Why did we then articulate and convince the Prime Minister that the Director General must be JUSA B? Very few people were part of that discussion. Because if the DG cannot sit with the TKSU in the policy planning, he then is down. He won't even come to 30th Malaysia Plan discussion, won't be in the pre-budget discussion. I think Prof. Samsul and all will know that. So that's one level of it. So if you have a chairman who is a backbencher in Parliament, not a cabinet minister, not cabinet rank, what's his position? How is he going to convince other ministers? Why was then the need to set up a cabinet committee? And why is a cabinet committee only chaired by a DPM or a PM? Those of us who are not part of government didn't know all this stuff. We all belajar in the system. But with Dato' Sami Velu, you are thrown into the ocean and you have to swim through it. So a DPM chairs because it is interministerial. How can you dictate another minister or KSU? So who attended these meetings? KSUs attended. Why do they need to? Because then they are instructed to actually execute the decision. We cannot create a sub-government, and the book is saying you shouldn't. MITRA is only a coordinating with some fund. We are citizens of the land. We are protected by Article 8. We are protected by Article 153, the legitimate interests of other communities. That you cannot become a package in a small ministry or department with a case with a DG who is S54. Doesn't even come anywhere near JUSA people. I think even Prof. Samsul, when I was appointed in UKM, I'm already to see already, and so forth. So all this needs to be understood in that context. By that, I'm not saying governments were wrong, it's incremental development, but we now need to position ourselves. We need to study the hard facts and set things right. Don't say this is now my duty, don't talk, don't question me and all that. Engage everyone. And if you engage Indians and the society as a whole, who are our allies, I would feel Prof. Samsul is. He was there from day one on when SITF was set up. He was advising and then advising on various things and so forth. So my advice then would be read the book. Read the book, read the chapters, arrange a tea. I'll come and give a talk if you want. The reporter just now asked me whether they will translate it to Tamil. I asked Guna whether he wanted to. I think Paniir or others like even Darshini can write short articles. I told Ken write an article of the Q&A because it takes it beyond ethnic approach. So we must note that in 2008 when this was set up, the champion was actually the Prime Minister. Why was it done? Because Hindra's question was, we were full citizens of the land and we should have access. So they were responding to those challenges at that time. So those are my thoughts.
Okay. Sorry, I won't get to stop you before we pass on to the real talk. So thank you very much. I think as Dr. Denison has mentioned, the book will be a good place as a starting point. It's not the end. Hopefully it will incite and inspire more discussions. And I think one of the themes, although we've talked about many themes, but I think one of the most important themes that is important and is very simple is the moral sensitivity and moral compass of our society and our nation. 25 years was like the social care of each and every one of us in society. And I'd just like to end with this. I don't know how many of us like literature or sastra, but I remember that 𝙪𝙁𝙗𝑚, if you remember, who was one of our national laureate, he had a good friend whose name was Dr. Rajakumar, and he wrote a poem for Dr. Rajakumar in 1981. So there's this a bit of time, so a bit of time. So he wrote a poem. It was entitled Sahabatku. So he says something that goes, kemarahanku menjadi kepedihan, bila kita dipisah-pisahkan, jarak itu semakin berjauhan. Aku dapat gelarang bumi putra dan kau bukan. Bilakah semua warga negara mendapat hak layanan dan keadilan sama, dikenal dengan satu rubah nama bangsa Malaysia. So it's a beautiful poem that was shows the moral courage, the moral compass of fighting for the vulnerable, for the disenfranchised. And I think this book is a good starting point again to revive the spirit. So on behalf of Debbie and I would like to thank Dr. Denison. Please join me to give a round of applause.
I just wanted to mention something, since this is only a book launch. My name is Dr. Bhaskaran. Dato is given and not bought. Okay. So I was a former MMA president. I've been with 15 organizations since I started my public life. Now, Dato, I appreciate Dato because I always like people like him. But they're very soft-hearted people. They don't like to tell whatever really happened. So what I'm saying is, we buy the book, we read the book. It's your honest on your part, Prof, to call us back for a meeting to have a discussion with us. Because today we wanted to ask you a lot of questions.
No, it's not over yet.
Oh, I thought you moved on.
No, not at all. Prof. Samsul is speaking.
Oh, you're going to speak, okay.
That's all. We spent 3 hours at your book launch.
He was ending the story, he said,
None of us with interrupted. I never interrupted the program, but we'll definitely.
This episode is over.
This episode.
Okay, so with that again, I would like to thank everyone for spending time here and for listening to us. We hope the conversation was beneficial, and then pass the mic back to Lakshmi. Thank you again for coming to the next session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ken and Ms. Debbie, for the wonderful sharing just now, and also to Prof. So, the section is not over yet, and our event is not over yet. There's more to come. So, I would just like to say, Dato சொன்ன மாதிரி அந்த புக்கை எல்லாருமே வாங்கி படிங்க. தமிழ்ல விஜய் நடிச்ச படத்துல வந்து என்னாச்சும் ஒரு பிரச்சனைனா கம்யூனிட்டி அவரோட புக்கை எடுத்து காட்டுற மாதிரி இந்த புக்கை நம்ம வந்து நாலேஜ்க்கு எடுத்துக்கலாம். Because it's gonna be a wonderful book. நான் அந்த புக்கு படிச்சேன். So as a young girl, I feel that book has given a lot of knowledge to me. So எல்லாரும் அந்த புக்கு வாங்கி படிக்கலாம். நம்ம அங்க வச்சிருக்கோம். So event முடிஞ்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் நீங்கலாம் அங்க போய் வாங்கி படிக்கலாம். Next is a very wonderful section. We would like to have our honor of academic review presented by Prof. Ulum Dr. Samsul Amri Baharuni, and also accompanied by Mr. James Ryan Raj.
So I think now we have come to the second episode, which is I think all of us are eagerly waiting to hear Prof. Shamsul's view and review on this book. But I think before we move on, just would like to, for a lighter note, I'd like to ask Prof. Shamsul, what actually encouraged you to come? Is it because of Dr. Denison, or is it because of the title MITRA?
None of that.
Okay.
What I'm interested is because I'm doing a research now on sub-ethnicities in Malaysia.
Okay, wonderful.
We are all lumped together according to the British, Malay, Indian, Chinese, and others. Who are the Malays? Who are the Chinese? Who are the Indians? So we don't know. So now we know 80% of the Indians are Tamil, so who else? The Chinese too, the Malays too. Where are the Javanese? Where are the Minangkabau? So I think these issues are not being addressed properly by the government. And I talked a lot with people from Dawson, statistics. They're not interested. They're interested in others. They're not sociologically oriented. So I thought I want to come to MITRA and to share some of these things that I'm doing, and also look what you are doing. Because I'm going to ask questions more than trying to analyze the book. I'm going to ask what is missing in it. Why are they missing? So I know you put a lot of hard work. And of course, I know Denison from day one. He came to my office for an office to stay, and a table, and a typewriter. And he ended up 11 years with me. That's how long he was with me. Yeah? So I think there are three parts that I want to talk about today. I finished reading this book at 3 a.m. this morning, so if I go off to sleep, you know why. So my interest, you have already asked my first point, my interest for this book. Because I want to know, because what I discovered in this book, like what I discovered about MITRA, Muskina, and other books like that, like now in Sabah. Yeah? We thought people living in the Baidola, they can't speak Malay. When we went to interview them, we had to hire someone else to interview them. So these are realities. We saw all the difficulties and the realities of the people in this country, but the realities of communication. I always ask my doctor friend, when you go to Kelantan after you finish the degree, do you think you understand when this old woman comes and tell you she's sakit ini, sakit itu? Cannot, because they're speaking in Cantonese. So every doctor must learn linguistics. Because that's where we decide in the end. 6 years you study anatomy and all sorts of stuff. At the end of it, you cannot complete it. What's the use of that degree? And what is the use of that knowledge? So sometimes we take for granted this. We cover it all with nice things, but actually at the end, we find it that the doctors is suffering from miscommunication. So now I wonder why in so many cases we go to court for wrong advice, you know. They cut different things they are supposed to cut. I mean, it's incredible, all these news that you know. So this is why I'm interested in the sub-ethnic group. But then, if you want to do any policies, then we must consider educating communication with the people. You are talking about people having, receiving benefits. They don't even understand what benefits they are entitled to, you know. So I think that is one level we tend to not pay attention to because they must understand that. No, we understand it. Broken English, broken Malay, that is broken. The relationship is broken. It's not really going on the way we want it to. So this is where I find that reading MITRA, reading this book, MITRA means this book, not MITRA itself. It's interesting because I would ask the question, the Indians that you cover are only Tamils? Do you include Malays, Punjabis, Gujaratis, Sindhis? You have to answer that. That's what I want to know. Because you don't know. Because when you go into you are not concerned who they are, but they are all Indian. Because the government decided India one block. But Indians don't consider them one block. India has this vertical division, class and caste. Horizontal, rural, urban, semi-urban. They also have mainstream Indian, marginal Indian, alienated Indian, and anomy Indian. Anomy means totally detached from society and you have your own group. So that's what I'm talking about gangsters. So it is interesting to me when I look at this book. I'm looking for the thing. I'm looking for the way I live, because how relevant is the book to what I'm doing, so that I can help and I can offer some ideas how to go around dealing with it. So that is the first point that I find interesting that we have to begin to see from now. We just can't go on using these old colonial categories and hide behind it. So when Indra came out, then we realized, because more India ada juga yang Muslim. Some of them did, of course. They like Mama's food, they don't know that they are Indian Muslim from where. So these questions on the ground are being asked, but not in a cabinet meeting. So and also at a top government official meeting, because they are not interested in this stuff. So I find it very useful for us from now. If you are doing this research, you look at these different categories. Who are actually, of course, the biggest group that suffers from these are Tamils. I know that. But how do you compare with the Malays? How do you compare with then suddenly we going up and up? So as Denison said, that MITRA is not for them, not for all Indians. So who are the other Indians that we need to look after, and how could they be dealt with? You know, because I find sitting in the UK and in 𝗔𝙗𝙗, every year we have a lot of students who are not happy, they're not able to have a place. And now UKM has designed a way that okay, you got money, you can come in. No money, you have to go to the track. What I call the jacket murah track, you know. So line up and see where you can get into the university. If you got money, that's not. It's the way that we have university one side, hospital. The hospital one side free for all citizens, or one ringgit 50 cents. But the other one is the business wing. Then you have to pay, and then you have to insure. Not only the patient, me as a staff of UKM, I have to make a choice. You want to go to the with money or a free one? I mean, at that level, we are already dividing people. Forget about whether Malay, Chinese, or Indian. That division is not based on ethnicity, that division is based on class. So it is interesting to me that some of these factors are not being looked into to understand why. And I know you can't cover everything, right? You know, it's not possible. But I'm just trying to raise this so that in the future challenge that you want to overcome, you can start thinking statistically, who are the people. Because we haven't done the Indian and Sarawak, we haven't done it. They are there. You see the new reclassification of population census in Sabah and Sarawak. It's quite interesting. So, I mean, I'm doing all this because there's a scholarly interest in that, but basically I'm trying to explain how the whole country is being run based on colonial knowledge. So I have to dig deeper and find out how it is being done and how we have become part and parcel. We have accepted them and we do it without asking. But now I want to ask. So that's basically what I'm doing in my research now. But I must tell you that UKM has asked Denison to stay 2 more years as honorary professor. We have decided that last month he should be with us. It is little pleasure. Because everybody knows what he does, especially in UKM, because we always talk about it in seminars, in meetings, and also with the students in classes. So examples are plenty that Denison provided us over the years. So this is where I think Denison walks across the academic scope that he does, and then his activist position, and then he is at heart a philanthropist, but he cannot contribute like other big money philanthropists could give, but he contributes his energy and his passion. There, Rose, without the support of Rose, I think susah juga lah. Thank you, Rose. So in a way, I find when I've been with him for these years, every year, I will be surprised if I don't receive any WhatsApp in 2 weeks from Denison, but he'll be asking a lot of questions which I think I have to respond. Because there are some administrative things that he mentioned today. If you are a lower category officer, don't hope to see the minister. I mean, so how do you push all the big issues, all the big problems that they should know? And I have confronted this problem again and again. I might be equal to the KSU, my position and my grade and my salary, but still, I'm not in that scope of bureaucracy that I can sit next in a meeting, just barge in and give my opinion. It cannot be done. You have to go through. It's quite what they call it, protocol. And the protocol is one of the issues that we have in dealing with MITRA. I think, they can say and announce, I'll give you 100 million, but we must start thinking, how are we going to distribute it? Are they going to distribute it with a lorry and throw out the money or what? You know? So this is what we can't imagine when it, like recently Anwar Ibrahim declared that one institute should have the kursi 𝙤𝗪𝙩𝙚𝙨, kursi perpaduan, national unity chair 𝙤𝗪𝙩𝙚𝙨. Because 𝙤𝗪𝙩𝙚𝙨 he considers as someone who has been very important during the May 13, post-May 13. He promised 5 million. I haven't seen 5 cents yet. So, and I have spent money to make sure things are being organized and rolled out and promotion and so on. So, 100 million is very big. For me, 5 million is already great. This is 1 year already, he promised. So, sometimes we wonder whether these are only promises. See, if he can make his promise, then I also can make promises. But it's not good. So that's where I find Denison and this book is very important. What is in this book? When I read through, he has worked with from Badawi Dev, Najib, Mahathir, Mohyuddin, Ismail Sabri, Anwar Ibrahim. Nobody else has worked with a number of prime ministers. Except me, Ikut Paduan.
So, following your...
Yeah, because everybody is afraid if there is no Perpaduan. So when there's Perpaduan, Samsul. So, in a way it's good. That's why when Anwar want to suggest the chair, he immediately Samsul. I said, yeah, saya nak duit. Saya tak ada nama pun tak apa. Saya nak duit je tu. We can start. That's when, because I have such money, I can tear up with Denison and do something. Poverty and Perpaduan. I mean, these are issues that people don't connect, you know, they don't see their relationship. But to me, it's very important. You can talk about Perpaduan, but people are not having food on the table. What Perpaduan is this? So I think this is the way I look at things, and that's how I present to the minister or whatever it is, because after all, some of these ministers, my ex-students, so that's a difficulty too. So because they want help, they come for me. But when I want help, they send the secretaries. So what do? I want him to help me, not his skills of politics, money politics, okay? So this is why I think the book, this book is not only about the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 prime ministers, 6, but also about 9 Malaysian plan, 10 Malaysian plan, 11 Malaysian plan, 12 Malaysian plan. 20 years. Yeah, 5 years, each Malaysian plan. So, I wonder why the report never came out after 20 years. So, only now, after 20 years, you are consolidating it, telling us a story. So, the book is a narrative, a history, a commentary, many dimensions. It's a diary, almost like a diary, bits and pieces of analysis from here and there, but I still feel they have to address some of the, what I call analytical tools. People call theory, concepts and whatnot, but for me it's analytical tool. You have a tool. A doctor has a tool, but the tool to operate your brain is different from the tool to operate your leg. Orthopedic and brain surgery are two different things. That's the same way we have to employ in analyzing society. We have to have our analytical tools. And these are people who are afraid, students are afraid. Khusus theory, they were scared. So I changed the name. Alat analysis. So we are all acquiring a skill to understand alat analysis supaya kita boleh analyze. Theory develop and develop and try to apply to us. So that is the issue that I think the next book on MITRA, you have the luxury now to actually think in those terms because you've got incredible empirical data. Incredible. So what sort of analytical tool do you want to use? Do you want to use, if I would suggest, I said, this book, because I can see 4 or 5 DACs from here, and master. Can supervise. I mean, together with
Dr. Velan is here.
He can supervise with my institute. So much. Maybe it's 236 pages, but it's more. Content, 2 second layer, 3rd layer. I mean, he comes to my office, I think he wants to finish his PhD, but he never did.
Not accepted.
Yeah, now you have. So, I think, while we're interested to support the poor, the B40 people, but they also need people with knowledge to support them. People who can analyze, can help them. not just make TikTok, so they can do many other things too. So because what basically we are looking at is modernity and modernization in a dependent capitalist system. That's what we are looking at. And this applies not only to the Indian, everybody in this country, because we are in this country. So the problem that MITRA trying to solve is the byproduct of capitalist system, the poor, the rich, So what are you involved in? And this is where I think we have many books that have been written about the Malaysian economic system. So how do we relate what happens here to the Malaysian economic system? How? Is it what? For production? For land? For labor? For capital? So what is it about? So in that way, we are able to see what we can do next stage. I'm happy that you take up the SDG boat to allow this issue to be floated up and people more attentive to it. But I still feel with this overarching notion that there is modernity, modernization, and that we are trying to achieve in this country. Don't talk about postmodernism, it hasn't come yet. Only modernity and postmodernism is only in books in UKM, but they are not on the ground. So, modernity, modernization in a dependent capitalist system. So, what are they? I mean, I can see this affecting lay peasants, it can affect fishermen in Sabah, also the Iban Sarawak. I feel the majority Iban cannot even rule Sarawak. That is what I'm asking. My friend Jayo, you speak of Malaya, what are you doing in Sarawak? Why do you allow this minority rule the majority? Sounds like Peter Kelatan, So it's interesting. So we begin to see this in that sense. Because the experience, see the other argument that I have with the Minister of Paduan is he's a very nice man. Adab dan adab, this is man with an adab and adab. So he was claiming, like every Sarawak here, the most important example of Paduan, Sarawak. So I said, yeah, I agree with you, Sarawak, but I will tell you there are 6 others in Malaysia. Kelantan, Terengganu, Kedah. Where there is a minority willing to be assimilated, Paduan is there. So it's Sarawak. The minority willing to be assimilated. And mixed marriage is a big thing in Sarawak. Then see, the minister, brother, sister, very Christian and Buddhist. So they don't worry about this issue. But here, we got socks from it. Not real. Shoes. How do we solve the socks? Socks. Don't wear socks. That is my issue. So in some ways, I find this interesting nature of Malaysian society. There are states like Penang, Selangor, integration is the name, not assimilation. So you can't say only Sarawak. I told the minister, hanya perpaduan dia. Banyak lagi. Karena ia yang bergantung, depends on whether it's assimilation or integration. So when you have demographic balance, then most likely it's not assimilation. So there is a new way of looking at Malaysia. Every country, every state, every degree different. So you can't generalize all the same. Then he went to Kelantan. So he told me, betul lah. Orang Kelantan dia tak cakap Cina lah, cakap Melayu semua. I said, not Melayu, Kelantan. Melayu is different from Kelantan. You don't understand what Kelantan is trying to tell us. So it's interesting how the minister, but one thing is good that he's willing to listen and argue and, okay. So our next National Unity Index, can you please include this the differences between integration and assimilation, and how every degree could be different. I said, okay. Don't promise me the money, give me the money. So he's kind, he said, okay, we have budget for this. So this is what I mean. MITRA is a platform. I want to consider it a knowledge platform, policy platform, and it's also a platform for many layered study that can be carried out after this. So you are able to supervise PhD masters. You do some MOU with us, so you can supervise all your. I'll make sure Ken will do the job and supervise the student. This is fantastic book. You just can register this. You have 10 more books like this, 10 MPA thesis or PhD. That's what we want.
How many PhDs? How many PhDs?
So I think this is it should be part of the mission.
Probably 6 PhDs.
Fantastic. Can you produce 12 more from here? I've seen the book and I went through. Oh my God! So I'm the supervisor of PhD. Oh, banyak discipline please.
Did you MOU with you?
Yeah. Of course.
Can we give a clap?
For that.
Don't worry, I welcome. I have MOU with China. Why shouldn't I have MOU with you? So I think what we need to do is we have to take care of ourselves right in our way.
Yes.
That's the way we should do. And I want to congratulate for the love and passion that Denison has. He deserves a bigger clap. Yeah?
Wow.
That's all I have to say. Otherwise,
I think the moment when you, actually the first question I asked, just a lighter note so that I can ask further questions.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's why Professor Ullo.
I think a lot of rich ideas and advice, lessons that come out from Prof. Ullom's mouth itself. I think it's so valuable. It's like a jewel. And I think he has set the tone. And of course, today I'm motivated, but not tomorrow how was that? That's what PhD. But I think anyway, very comprehensive review on the book. From even challenging us to also to know who are these Indians.
Yeah.
And probably there will be another book probably that Denison is definitely working and getting some of us all involved. That's what you said, the energy that he has. It's not only now with him, it's being transferred. It's being moving around, encouraging us and also I think so much of knowledge.
Can I have one more point?
Please.
I always like to see and perform this, the culturalization of poverty.
Right. Culturalization
Of poverty. How poverty become a value. There's a book by Oscar Lewis, Culture of Poverty. Yeah? He has written a few more. We need to explain to people. Otherwise, stereotype will remain dominating us. And I don't want stereotype to dominate us. The culturalization of poverty. Some people turn to religion to solve the poverty problem. So I know friends in Ramban, I live in Ramban, big Indian population. They're Pentecostal church. So I've been to many of these Pentecostal churches, taken by my friend. They are all trained in Germany. So I said, why do you decide to do this? Then I went to visit his parents, and then the culturalization of poverty. Is that, okay, how the way out? Not only money,
Yeah.
Your emotion, thinking, and whatnot. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
A lot of terminologies we are hearing today. That something sometimes we get so jammed up over here.
We need to
You need to understand all this, you need to attend some classes. Thank you so much. I think there will be a lot of questions today. We have opened up a lot of ideas and thoughts, and probably Dato, Bhaskar will raise one or two questions, and then
Dato, you can come to the center.
No, I don't think. I think it's quite our point. We are all seen. We are very fair and sweet people. We can be seen very well. Anyway, I think the main thing is, as far as we are concerned, I think the effort you have taken, we appreciate you have been doing a lot of work on those days. And also, we always appreciate academicians because they always have oversight of everything. But sometimes we need to be a grass, and we have grassroots people. So what I'm asking you all is, we must not hide what we have done. I think all of us are trying to say now is, let's not talk about the past. Dr. Denison is a very forgiving man, maybe God's hand, he said, let's forget the past. It cannot be done like that. The culprits must be brought to justice. First thing is, it's not small money that we have lost. In the last 50 years, I started my career as a public servant, as a medical doctor. At the age of 23, I was already in the public service. I work for my government, I've been in 15 organizations, I've led 7. The last one is right now I'm looking after the health of Malaysian Healthy Aging Society. I don't want to make you all young, I want to make you all healthy. Especially the Indian communities population, they don't want health. Anyway, we all know what this is about. So what I'm asking you all is be very honest about the things that we talk about. Let's not go and say I want to hide this, I want to push it down. The culprits have been brought. And the culprits of the country, everybody knows. It all started not many years ago. The last Prime Minister, 𝙪𝙪 was the best honest individual man that anybody can think of. The moment Mahathir walked in, the moment the 3 leaders came together, definitely Dato' Sami will do, Dato' Ling all came together, the country changed. I mean, corruption was at the maximum, and it has been there. I recently launched a book, let me tell you, I'm not saying that because I launched a book because I work in MIC, I work in the public, I'm not one of those fellows who are jump from the top just because I'm a medical doctor. I raised 4 million for MIC. And every project I was highest auditor. Not a single assemblyman or anybody could beat me in that. Collection I was highest. And all that collection I did has gone to the dustbin. Right from MITRA Academy, right from MITRA Holdings, right from the KPJ, everything has gone to the dustbin. Now, what am I supposed to come here and bring what? The Indians are poor? No, we are not poor. We are rich. We have 2,000 datos in this country. How much of the datos have been taken? We are rich. We are really rich. But the poor thing is, because we have to be subjugated by a man who was of Indian blood, he had to convince the Malay he was more Malay than them, and he cheated the Malays. And the Malays were carried away. Today, we have lost billions. The Indians are not going to get anything again. We have 100% population, 70% Malay population. 23 is Chinese, 7.3% is Malay, Indian. If this 100 billion or whatever billion, I estimate is more than 100 billion outside. If it comes back, 70% has to go to the Malay, not because of anything, because of population right. It must go back to the people of B40 and M40. But it will not come. Why it will not come? Because the Malays, our majority population is concerned not about what the leaders told. They live on a day-to-day basis. I mean, let's be very frank. We have put Malaysia. Malaysia is a wonderful day. I'm telling you, I'm not because I come from Kampo. They are the best place I can live with. Nobody can beat the Malays. But it's been so corrupted in their mind that they have been told, you don't worry about what leaders told you. The leaders will told, they have told and gone. Now you have to really come back and enjoy. It cannot. If you do not go after this country and teach these fellows a lesson, I'm 75. I'm not going to last a long time. Many of us here are old. We'll have to go sometimes. But we're looking at the younger people. I don't have many young there. You are young.
We appreciate your concern. But do you have any specific questions?
Yeah, because no, first of all, as you say, you cannot hide what happened in MITRA, what happened in SDGs. You must come out. That's all I want to say.
Yeah.
If you come out with the truth, the next 1 generation, 2 generation will come by itself. Just get the truth out.
Yes.
And MITRA, this book, I think, Denison, sir, I know you. You are a very genuine person, but you can't write everything. I know you can't write because it is not in your hands to bring the culprits out. Thank you.
Okay, just a minute. Let me second. The objective of the book, as Prof. Abdul also said, is to capture what was available in the public domain. I don't think I have minced my words because I don't think anyone has popularized the Auditor General's report, which is listed, and it has serious implications to the people who have been identified in the Auditor General, and the time was 2018 Mahathir's government, and the MACC person was the NGO, the lady. Oh yeah. She said she set up a special committee to investigate, but MACC didn't follow up on that. They took subsequent charges. The charges which is referred to are actually individuals who had cheated on their claims. And MACC also says that the monitoring and the checks were weak, and that is why. But the person was charged in court and found guilty and paid 60,000, and he has a few more charges, a gentleman from Malacca. So that one is listed. I don't think but I would agree with Dato, the past mistakes have to be rectified, and that is why the historical review would highlight it. I would say, Dato, and the book I think brings up, you are in a dangerous precedence on who's controlling MITRA and whether it is going the same route as it did before, because it's highly politicized and political control. If that's the way the community wants it, then the outcome will be, the book highlights that. But it doesn't, we are not MACC or something to investigate on that, but your points are valid. Corruption is a key problem, and that's ongoing at the government level.
Okay, let me remind again. So I think briefly, very brief, and also not to please be politically correct, so that you don't misquote anyone or just create any tension and so forth. But let's talk, because the whole idea is also to see how we can strengthen MITRA in the future, what we can do in the future. So just, I think, keep it to that, and don't name any political party or names in the past and so forth. We don't delve into that, but certainly go into the point what we are discussing today and also the future. Make it very brief. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. And Vanakkam. Briefly, I'm Ramani Krishnan, political science background with legal background too. So currently I'm doing my PhD on human rights. I got two questions, issues to this. Before that, briefly, I believe that generally Malaysian Indians suffering with kind of political insanity, insane in the sense that there's a defect of reasoning, memory, and understanding. Insanity. Anyway, it's not a defense. Okay, we can discuss in depth on this issue later. But before that, congratulations to Professor Denison, because timely launched this book, very timely and very important for the Indian community to discuss on it. My first question, issue I want to raise is, this is regarding MITRA. It's a very significant and very important element for the Indian community. But I don't know, with the current contemporary challenges on MITRA, any representatives from MITRA is here? They were invited?
We were invited.
They didn't attend. very, very good. Congratulations to them. Okay, that's why I said suffering with political insanity, the loss of memory, reasoning, and understanding. Okay. Then my second question, issue I want to raise is recently MITRA under the Ministry of Unity conducted a very important meeting, discussion and workshop that under the Ministry of Unity. Now MITRA is shifted to VM office. So how far the workshop is relevant today? Then just now Prof mentioned about the commando consultant which given big grant money to them. How far it been relevant? Still the issue is surrounding with the political insanity, effect of reasoning, memory and understanding. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. I think Prof on the second one, Prof can also give a comment because of consultants, research projects and things like that. Now, thank you. On the political insanity, I won't mention the one. MITRA, all the members of the MITRA committee were invited, including the chair, plus all members of parliament were also invited, and the AP and others of MITRA were invited. But they all seem to say that there is a problem with KKB and all have to go to KKB. So they are all in KKB. One or two did say they have post cap, and as a result they cannot come. So I'm taking the word. What is happening in KKB, I don't know. So, and why MITRA is in KKB during election time, I also don't know. Now, on this workshop, it was when Ministry of Unity was in charge and the minister wanted it, and Permandu was appointed. And the minister did say that the money is not from MITRA's grant, but under the ministry's grant. The book highlights one of the studies worth 300,000 was given from MITRA's grant, and that report is referred to, so you can have a look at that as well. Some people feel that research consultancy is not important. If a document was done in 2017 and today is 2024, and if the census report has changed, if the household income survey has changed, if the Malaysia plans have changed, you actually have to update the document because all the data and references and relevance would change. So there's nothing wrong in that. There seems to be this idea of you don't need to do research, we did it already, so don't need to do. The whole idea of what works and doesn't work is a research question. Like Prof is asking, who were the target group? Actually, this book doesn't answer that question because there's no information on who were the participants. There might be some Facebook pictures here and there, but no details of the actual event, where it took place, and analysis and so forth. So research is critical. And for some reason people feel not necessary, give the money, and that's it. So analyzing the growth, what is the impact assessment, all this are critical. So Permandu's report, we are not sure. We invited Permandu associates also to come for this meeting. They did not turn up. So maybe this book is not as relevant And I thank those who have come, not because you were buy a book, but at least you are interested in the content and that you will build on it. So I think from my little I've learned from Prof. Samsul, the work that we do here is completely research focused. The number of publications, last year Dr. Su and the team produced 28 parliamentary reports. This year we're doing 30 from the ground. So I told everybody, just do Prof. Samsul's idea, no journal, right? Individual booklets, get it going, and so forth. Research is critical to any analysis. Thank you. Prof.
I want to comment a bit on the consultant. There are 3 or 4 types of consultants. Some are simply cheat us outright. And it's just arrangement that I've had for many years with the same department. It doesn't matter government or local government or degree government or federal government. It doesn't matter. Because somehow in our tradition, we have to get validation from somewhere. Then only we feel we have done good. I remember sitting in the education planning, or Mahyudin was the Minister of Education and Deputy Prime Minister. We spent 20 million consultants. So that, I can't remember the name of the consultant. Come back to me and cheat me, I don't know. What is that 20 million? Why do we need 20 million? And at the end, who are common consultants? The same people in the university, and in different NGOs. So useful only insofar as project specific. When you start planning for the whole country for the next 20 years, then a consultant has a big field to play, so they can ask and enormous sum of money. So I think we talk about leakages. Consultant is open wound and open leakages. Incredible for the amount of money. And I don't know why Auditor General doesn't do it. Yeah? She looks at all sorts of stuff. I know Mansura with me in Provador before. But where is consultant? In your, there is up to the, we check at every department. But I think the whole consultant circle, you have to make sense. What are they doing? So what is the evaluation that we have about consultant? What do we get from the consultant? So, but the one thing good about Malaysia, see, we make good name all over the world for doing apparently the right thing. So our, like Idris Jara has created a global consultant because of his concept of Pemandu. So, and then he even lifted the concept of Pemandu and make his own company. So who's going to pay for that? Yeah. So it's interesting for us. But somehow, if we see the budgeting, I attended a couple of budget meetings, especially with Stephen Sim, Deputy Prime Minister, Deputy Minister before, because he's also my PhD student, so he invited me to come. So I said, I'm very lucky, I'm never invited to discuss anything in a budget meeting. So what I discussed about research. Research fund. Then he said, oh, that's Ministry of Science and Technology, that's Ministry of Education. So suddenly, I see many pipelines where I have to put my bucket to get my budget. Okay,
anyone? Stephen there.
I don't have questions, but I would like to make some comments. Okay, first of all, I want to congratulate Dato for your book launch, and I'm sure you did it with your second half because you felt enough to complete the book. Nothing rose.
Okay.
Let me be very brief here. I like your topic here, past and present and future. As a citizen of this country, I would want to forget about the past. Okay? I would allow the law of the land to deal with the past. Why should I be worried about the past when the law of the land is there? Okay? Okay? The rightful people will be persecuted in due time. Okay, let's not worry about the past. Let's concentrate on the present and the future. Because that's where we need to move on. We need to work on. And the B40 group is a good group for us to work on because every figure is there. Every state has got its details, you know, and if we can concentrate on that will be a starting point for us to work on rather than going through the whole country and finding out more and what we need to do. That would be our first focus. Secondly, I also see that, you know, whether it's 10 million or whether it's going to be 100 million or whether it's going to be 1 billion, the thieves will always be there. You know, we cannot eradicate the thieves. Whatever said and done, you can start from A to Z and follow the procedures. You can have scholars, you can have PhD holders, you can have a Form 5 SPM student in all the ministries. That's how much they can do. Of course, you cannot change the political situation of the country because it's going to take a long time. You know, Dato rightfully said the first group of attendees sitting in the first row may not read your book. I very strongly feel that they've done more than enough. It's time for them to rest and bless us to say, please go ahead and do the needful. You know? So I would still say that I think there's so much greater work to be done. And let's not look at the minority matters. Let's not look at the minority matters and look at the bigger, larger field to look at. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. We got questions. So, yeah.
Thank you. Congratulations, Doctor, for your book. I believe it's launched. So I have a couple of questions. Maybe.
Okay.
Okay, to that. So one of the I read through the book very quickly. So I can't help to wonder. So we have past, present, and future. How sustainable is MITRA or all these approach and narratives and rhetoric about Indian communities and marginalization and discriminations? And when we talk about Indian communities, I keep on thinking, how do we interweave these ideas, all these narratives and all this discourse about Indian communities development into the sustainable development goals that we have? Because with due respect, we are not in marginalization and discrimination is not just the Indian communities. With APPGM, SDG, we've met with a lot of minorities in Sabah and Sarawak. There are minorities that we haven't even heard of, or at least I haven't even heard of. So when we talk about development, we're talking about leaving the one behind and inclusivity. So I wonder how sustainable it would be if we continuously thinking about Indian communities' problems and also the marginalization and discriminations to just be an Indian community's problem in Malaysia and not be able to see as an integrated whole for the development issues of, or rather argue in such a way that it is an problems that is within all the development issues that we have. So I hope my question makes sense. So the sustainability of continuously talking about to modularize Indian communities issues as in the Indian communities issues and not to see as Malaysian issues, how sustainable would that be? So that's my questions for now. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Su.
Okay, I got a couple of questions, and because of time, I just stick on to one question.
Yes, thank you.
This country since independence until now has been ruled by a government that is more than 95% Malays, right? By a civil service that has now become 95% Malay, right? By a system that is very Malay dominated. But yet, 2 months ago when they had this 𝙭𝗚𝗧𝗥𝗔 Congress, they say the poorest people in this country are still the Malays and 𝙭𝗚𝗧𝗥𝗔. Right? This is the fact. So my question is this. A large Mahimud government with all the facilities, with all the monies, with all the abilities that it has got, right, is not able to solve the Malay problem. How can MITRA, a minute organization with a budget of $100 million, can be anticipated to solve the Indian problems? I think a lot of people are very, very delusional, especially the Indians, because our focus is just the $100 million and thinking that they can solve the problem. but you cannot. Like I said, just think about this. The Malays, with whatever power they have, they're not able to solve the problems. So what should we be doing to solve our problem? We should move our mindset away from MITRA. So,
thank you. Another gentleman over here.
Earlier comment. My name is Marcy. It is something which I have been doing over the last 2 months, including Dr. Denison. I told them that MITRA is irrelevant, not perceived right. You have to give me an answer. And I said the entire Indian community cannot be seen anymore as separate. It has to be a national perspective. So we should fall in the national perspective to solve all the questions, whatever that is.
Thank you.
Good afternoon all. First of all, thanks to Prof. From UKM. He launched my book, The Malaysian Indian Dilemma, 2009, University Malaya. Is I'm happy to say so he sold about 10,000 copies. Malaysia Indian இக்கட்டான நிலை 2006ல நான் புக் லான்ச் பண்ணேன் தமிழ்ல. அந்த புக்கு 4ஆம் பதிப்பா வந்திருக்கு. எப்படி அந்த புத்தகம் 10,000 புத்தகத்துக்கு இருக்கு. மலேசியாவில் வந்து 2 மொழியிலும் ஒரு 20,000 புத்தகம் வித்துருக்கு இந்த ஸோ அடுத்ததாக அந்த ப்ரொஃபஸர் மாறி இருக்காரு. அவருக்கு நான் நன்றி சொல்லுவேன். எனக்கு 22 வயசு இருக்கும் பொழுது 10ஆம் வகுப்பில் என்னோட குரு வந்து ரெவரண்ட் ஃபாதர் கேரோ இஸ் அ பிரீஸ்ட். அவர் தான் என்னை வந்து 16 வயசுல எனக்கு இந்த சமூக சேவை என்னன்னு கற்றுக் கொடுத்தாரு. நான் எப்போதுமே இரவுல அவரை நினைப்பேன். பிலிப்பைன்ஸ்ல தான் அவர் போய் காலம் போயிட்டாரு. அவர் கூட நான் இருந்து எல்லா வேலையும் செய்தேன். நாளைக்கு நான் என்ன சொல்றேன்னா, அவரை பத்தி ஏன் சொல்றேன்னா, அவர் தான் எனக்கு அந்த சேவை படைய கொடுத்தாரு. அவர் வந்து PhD-ல வந்து அந்த ட்ராப் அவுட் இது செய்யும் பொழுது அவருக்கு எடுத்து எஸ்டேட்லாம் கூட்டிட்டு போயிட்டு நாங்க 120 குடும்பங்கள் நாங்க செய்தோம். நானும் அவர் சின்ன குடும்பம். அவருக்கும் நான் நன்றி சொல்றேன். எனக்கு ஒரு நீண்ட அனுபவம் இருக்கு. நான் 2வது புத்தகம் வந்து மறுபடியும் எழுதுனேன், The Forgotten History of Malaysian Indian. அவங்களுடைய Forgotten History காலனியில் அவங்க எப்படி வந்தாங்க போனாங்க. அந்த புக்கு ஏறக்குறைய ஒரு 4000 புத்தகம் இருக்கு. லோட்டஸ்ல தான் இப்பொழுது அந்த புத்தகம் வைப்பாங்க. ஸோ இந்த இதுக்கு வந்து நான் முக்கியமான காரணம் வந்தது காரணம் வந்து இந்த மிட்ராவுடைய என்ன அந்த மிட்ராவோட சொல்லப்படுது. என்கிட்ட வந்து ஒரு மலேசிய தொழில் தொழிலாளர்களை பத்தி இன்னைக்கு அவங்க மார்ஜினலைஸ் கம்யூனிட்டியா மாறிட்டாங்க. I am a farmer rubber taper. I worked in estate about 10 years. இதான் என்னோட தலைவு. நான் நினைக்கிறேன் இங்க உள்ளவங்க சில பேர் தோட்டத்துல இருந்து வந்துருக்கலாம். எனக்கு இன்னைக்கு ஏன் ரொம்ப கவலையா நான் பாக்குறேன் அப்படின்னா, தோட்டங்கள் இருக்கு, அந்த மக்கள் இல்லை. எங்க போனாங்க, எப்படி வாழ்றாங்க, எங்க இருக்கிறாங்க, எங்க குடியிருக்கிறாங்க தெரியல. ஒரு 200 ஆண்டுகளமா இந்த நாட்டுக்கு வந்து உழைத்து இந்த நாட்டை பயன்படுத்தி ஏறக்குறைய 12 லட்சம் பேர் இறந்திருக்காங்க. அப்படிப்பட்ட இந்த சமுதாயம் இன்னைக்கு ஒதுக்கப்பட்டு ஓரம் கட்ட மக்களா போயிடுச்சு. இன்னைக்கு மிட்ரா வழியா அதை பத்தி ஒரு பேசுறதுக்கு ஒரு வாய்ப்பு கிடைச்சு நான் இங்க வந்திருக்கேன். ஆகவே என்னுடைய 3வது புக்கு இந்த மிட்ராவோட விஷயம் இருக்கு. நான் அப்புறம் நன்றி சொல்றேன். அந்த புத்தகத்தை நான் பார்த்துட்ட பிற்பாடு என்னோட புத்தகத்துல நான் எப்படி மார்ஜினலைஸ் கம்யூனிட்டி பத்தி எழுதுறேன். அந்த புத்தகத்துல இதை எப்படி நான் உள்ள கொண்டு போக முடியும் அப்படின்றத பாக்குறேன். நான் உங்கள்ட்ட ஒன்று கேட்டுக்கொள்வேன். நம்ம இங்க உட்கார்ந்துக்கிட்டு ஒரு பாதிக்கிற பொருள் அல்ல. அடிப்பட்ட மக்கள்கிட்ட நம்ம போகணும். நான் மலேசியா பூரா எல்லா இடத்துக்கு போயிட்டேன், வெள்ளாவுல இருந்து எல்லாம். அதே மாதிரி மனாய்க்கிற கம்பங்கள், படிப்போம் பஸ், அந்த பாகம் எல்லாத்தையும் நான் போயிட்டேன். உங்ககிட்ட என்ன சொல்றேன்னா, சமூக சேவை செய்கிறவர்கள் வெறும் புத்தகத்தை மட்டும் படிச்சுட்டு அறிவாட்டு இருக்காதீங்க. நீங்க மக்கள்கிட்ட போகணும். யூ மஸ்ட் கோ டு தி கிரவுட். இன்னைக்கு வந்து பாருங்க, தோட்டத்து மக்கள் எல்லாம் வெளியாகி நகர்ப்புறங்களுக்கு ஆயிட்டாங்க, ஒதுக்கப்பட்ட மக்கள் ஆயிட்டாங்க. இன்னைக்கு அவங்க என்ன நிலைமைன்னு நம்ம ஆராயணும்னா, அந்த மக்கள் எங்க இருக்காங்க, அவங்க என்ன பிரச்சனை அப்படின்னு போகணும். இங்க வந்துட்டு அவங்களுக்கு அது திட்டம் விடாதீங்க, அவங்களோட சேர்ந்து திட்டமிடுங்க. அதோட நான் கேட்டுப்பட்டு நன்றி விடைபெறுகிறேன்.
It could be a situation like I'm into digital, so I think digital inclusion is so important for vulnerable community. Malaysia, regardless of the race, it's not about Indian, Chinese, or Malay, everyone needed. So when it comes to MITRA, we have a best practice and where they have like talent, where they have a tech talent network. So within that particular pool of experts, MTech is collaborating with the network to validate the program submitted by all the training providers like us. Why not? MITRA also can come out with that kind of a collaboration, rather than the PTD officer decide what program is suitable for the people. Because they feel like not all the PTD officers are well versed with the technology advancement and the need of the poor community. Last year I just completed the 100 women program for digital is the Penjanaan Pendapatan Melalui E-Dalam Khas untuk Wanita B40 and M40. Because getting the project, going through the process and submitting the laporan, even though the process is tedious, but we see like there is a value added. So this would be my suggestion. MITRAs should collaborate with a pool of technologists and the people who are looking into the future. There are many people come and doing the pitching, but I feel like not everyone going with the project with MITRA. I submitted my proposal for 4 years. So I got it in 2023 as the fourth time. So any merit. So that's why I would like to bring this matter here with all of you. Doctor, thank you so much for writing up, taking your effort on putting this in paper.
Thank you very much, Donna. Donna is one of our very active solution providers.
Good evening, I'm Denison from Penang. Okay, I'm a recipient of the grant from SDGs and also MITRA. Okay, normally what happens is we give them reports which is about 500 pages actually, the final report.
Where?
To MITRA or even to SDGs earlier as well. So there was once the earlier during SDGs, I think I brought a trolley with almost 10 files of reports to them. So I don't know whether that was captured in the book or not. So the second thing is in terms of implementation, right? So what happens is, are we really looking at the target group, or it is just done as a program to be carried out? Because you see what happens is, I get a lot of calls from MITRA officers to ask me, where are your participants? Why you don't have participants, enough participants? I said, this is not my target group. I need to implement the group which is the targeted group. So here what they want is, we go by the book, we don't care about them. Right? They're not concerned, doctor, they're not concerned like APPGL give us 3 months, of course 3 months, when you go to get the targeted, you're given time to really go to the target group to implement it. But here they don't do that. They are only worried about implementing it. As long as they've got their numbers, that's about. So, which is actually when it comes to the ground, it does not actually benefit the targeted group that the grant is given to. So this is my observation. Thank you.
Wonderful book review, and
So the Denison. My questions of comment. With MITRA, we have 100 million allocated to MITRA, and all the while 100 million. But it is for mostly focused on B40. And B40 just pumping in the money for economic empowerment will not transform the community. Because Indian community, especially B40, encounter a lot of social issues. Because we can see issues like domestic violence quite serious in Indian community. It's not coming out. It's all tips of iceberg. So the family, but outside even you give money to for them to start business, this and that, it won't help because when there's someone addicted husband in the family, severely drugs or alcohol addicted, he will grab all the money, the income from the wife, he will spend. So it cannot transform the family. Even it cannot transform the individual family, you cannot transform the community. So we have to focus on the family unit is very, very important in a community and also nation building. So without addressing the issues of individual family issues, the billions of money is allocated to the community also, it won't benefit. You cannot see any sustainable development in the community because the community has divorce rate, single mother, and many empty child marriages are increasing, divorce rate increasing, and then neglected children, and also unhealthy parenting style. All these affect the dysfunction, lead to the dysfunctional family. So my suggestion, the allocation of MITRA must focus on addressing the dysfunctional family. Then only they can transform economic empowerment, can transform them as a holistic transformation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Hello, good evening. My name is Nico. Let me declare who I am. Actually, I'm from the Jayaraman Parliament, probably closest to what we people. Natin Rose invited me yesterday. I got a WhatsApp. I know that Denison for many years. He was a pastor of the Methodist. Since then, involved with a lot of community work. I know James Jayaraman for probably 20-30 years. Yeah? So I'm here today. When I came here, I realized that Prabha was actually invited as the guest of honor to launch the book. Right? That's what is on the program. Okay, now what I want to say is after listening to some of the people here, MITRA has gone through a lot of issues in terms of credibility, honesty, how the funds were handled. Okay? Let us look at the senior man said about MITRA holdings, how it was handled. There's a lot of legacy issues. Now, moving forward, okay? You are all good people trying to do something good. That was written in a book, recorded all what has happened over the last 16 years. I may have a chance to speak to some of the people who are handling MITRA now. Okay? So how do we do it? How do we know who are the the people who are cheaters again and again, who are the honest people who are going to work with us? I think there's also a fear in the current team moving forward. How to be honest, how to handle the money, how to handle the 100 million carefully, honorably. Every little cent should be accounted for. The gentleman was talking about corruption. Corruption from the very top. Today the headlines are really talking about one MPP. You know? So who do we trust? Prime Minister? Finance Minister? Who do we trust? So this will be the challenge. We are a little minority group of 6% of the population. So I would really like to work with some of you, yeah, because you guys are good. I know APPJM and how that has worked, even during the years of YSS, very honorable, very honest. Although there were a lot of other people around me who did above, you know. So how do we move forward? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. I think You might have many more questions, but I just want to see if you have really a dying question. That means you really want to ask. Ask. Really, okay, last one.
Thanks for the opportunity. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ashok. Congratulations, Dato, on the launching of this book. It's a much needed book at this time. Basically, I think it's a soft report card of MITRA for the past years. Alright, Dato, since you mentioned future possibilities in your title, I would like to ask you on the relevance of MITRA in 5 to 10 years of time. That's all, Dato. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now, I will still want Prof. Samsul to make some comments on why the Malay community is still backward, or the development agenda continuity, and some of the development policy agenda in that context. I think I tried I think altogether there were 10 interventions, but I'll try and group them. I think Stephen made an observation. There are 2 Stephens here, one from Port Klang Stephen and Stephen from Batu. So I think let me start with Dr. Su's question on sustainability. Dato Sri Anwar in the Ambedkar Forum, I think some of you went for the forum. I watched over YouTube. I couldn't go that evening. He said, actually, I don't want any race-based approach. If I could, I will abolish MITRA, and everybody should go through the government system. And so the politics of it dictates that you need to have this kind of an approach. Now, what most of us who are in the development work, and Prof alluded to culture and so forth, need to recognize that you can have general approaches to reaching target growth, but you need some specific intervention that addresses culture, religion, some ethnicity. It can cut across communities, but there are issues of communication and so forth. So I think the Unity Minister and others are right that it shouldn't just be MITRA for Indians alone. At that time, when SDGs was set up, there was the efforts for the Orang Asli, and there was the efforts for the Chinese New Village Coordinating Committee as well, operating in the same block. So I think Penans in Sarawak would need different kind of intervention, and the staff had to be oriented language, culture, sensitivity to the work. That's why anthropologist, ethnographic approach is needed in these kind of areas, culture, language, sensitivity, and so forth. So the Prof. Samsul raised what kind of group and so forth. So we are saying it's not all Indians in this case. So we say it's Tamil, but then we say not all Tamils, because Tamil from Sri Lanka or Jaffna doesn't fall under this category, but Tamils from South India. But not all Tamils, because if you are Kaunda, Chettiar, all that, you don't fall under this. So Prof, it actually breaks down, and then you suddenly see who then is this Indian. Then there is a particular kind of group that is disadvantaged of some kind. So is it sustainable in the approach? I think if you don't approach it that way, the last mile intervention to the poor cannot be reached. So Malaysia has done quite a lot, but the last mile is what we are looking at to sections. And I think anyone reading Tana's report that will come out of the 150 families in Tambun, and then another 150 coming from Bultong or Taili, Kampong and all that, is completely different. It's a different group of Indians, most probably not the ones in this room at all. Now, relevance of MITRA, is MITRA relevant? Is MITRA only the 100 million? Now, who said MITRA should be 100 million? Which policy paper drives you to only 100 million? Actually, there was never the intention of the formulators, the cabinet committee. That's why you need to read up the background of what it said. In fact, in the first round, there is no money distributed at all. The effort was, how do you get Malaysian Indians to participate in the services that the government provides? That was the criteria. Why Indians don't go to ILP, IKBN, MRSM, 𝙤𝙬𝙨𝙩? What are the hurdles? How can we facilitate their entry? So I remember with James and all, we have to go down to canteen, what food is catered? Is there transport for them to go to temple? All these kind of things to make the provision culturally sensitive to a particular group. We have to address the question of, if my child went, will they end up as a Muslim in that institution? So the relevance of MITRA is, why in the first place, those of us who did all the policy papers tried our best, desperate best, to convince a Prime Minister. I don't know how many of you have written papers, submitted to EPU, then go to PM, then sit down with him or with the EPU DG, and then convince them what is needed. And what Dr. Su is what we are saying, why can't India go to the normal provision and things of that sort? It was, I would say, Prof, it was actually because of Indra. At that point when I was there, I didn't articulate it that way. Indra facilitated it, and there were those of us who could write and had influence that then put it through to a Prime Minister who took note of it. So after 2008 general election, question was, why are the Indians still not interested? What's failing in the policy? The question was, we needed a special task force to look at the decisions and follow through the decision. So you got a cabinet committee, the ministers decide, okay, all go to ILP. But all don't go to ILP, no places allocated. So then the special implementation task force actually listens, checks applications, this one, to place them there. What are the problems? And it was a Prime Minister's department activity because it was cutting across education, human resources, all kinds of things. The role was a coordinating role and liaising with the Prime Minister or the Minister's concerned through a cabinet committee that gave the mandate. That was the background. If you say all of this was only for 100 million processing, then most of the Indian organizations would do better to go to Jayaraman because you got capacity building, you got training, or come to us because we do the process from 40,000 now to 100 to 250,000 step by step. So is there a relevance? I think there is, because there is no coordination. If you don't get it, you can't get 1 billion for Indian in a department to run. You have education, education should address, health should address, housing should address. So how do you make sure? How do we make sure the district office, the DOs, actually look at it as well, the pendulums, because that's the system of government. Prof. Samsul, remember giving me the book, the district office. There's a PhD on the district office. Our work now is working with DOs, and our staff actually sit down with DOs, present the issue. We got ADOs, what is the other one? KODO. The chief of the ADOs who sit, then they call all the agencies, then they follow through. If you don't do that, you're not going to move anything on the ground. It won't even move for the minute, don't be surprised. Dr. Su highlighted. Now, the other points from 𝗠𝗜𝗧𝗥𝗔, Guna, and also Stephen, 𝗠𝗜𝗧𝗥𝗔 on digital, I think these are specific things, and then Guna on family dysfunctional, I think it's important. Stephen on, we were the only people who ran capacity building program for MITRA staff. MITRA staff told us they got no budget to run capacity building. We use ABBG funds to sponsor one-day training for MITRA people. So we are open. We invited all the staff, we invited all the leaders. If they don't turn up, we can't do more. We are not upset with it. We are delighted that YB from Postcat flew here. Flew, right? The car.
Not by helicopter. Not by helicopter.
Not by helicopter. With Datuk Pula, we have done excessive work in Ipoh Barat, and especially the 𝗔𝙗 community with him. No other mayor in the country has allocated 1 acre of prime land in the city, and YB Pula secured that, and we have invested into that. So I think those are my general points. The book in itself, the attempt is to say, okay, this took place, whether right or wrong, and all that. Some people feel even my introduction is negative, and some people felt I should change the intro. My cover was changed by people intervening from MITRA, but they are not here. They all had the draft to give comments and so forth. So I think we must be absolutely honest to respect, and I think Prof. Ulum's position here is good, to respect public intellectual. You need to utilize academicians and researchers in the genuineness of their effort. No consultant fee was paid. Anthony Tan is our Director of Finance. No money was allocated. We are selling it to recover the cost of printing. Others were all pro bono by Zoel and a team. Where is Jeremy? Jeremy, who did the artwork on internal house and things of that sort to get publication. This is, I think, 6th or 7th book that we have published as a team here since last year. And I think Ken is working a book with me on SDGs as well. So that's the background. So I hope MITRA will value it. MITRA will want to talk to us about the finding. And if Stephen can facilitate that, invite all the MITRA people to occupy this. We can blather them masala tea or brew coffee with vada and idli. Or we can go to YB Pula's office in Putrajaya, because I think he's now in the Prime Minister's department. He might have to answer all the MITRA questions, all the critical list that will come in that. So that's my note, but I thought Prof. Saxon should comment on SP Nathan's question on Malay poverty and development, why all the money spent, all the agencies, all working, kenapa orang Melayu masih lagi miskin?
Word Bumiputra in the census. Before that, there's no Bumiputra, Melayu or Malay. And then it said there, Japanese, Minangkabau and all the rest. And then on, we started to introduce the word Bumiputra because we don't want the Japanese who come as workers to become part of that Bumiputra. That was the explanation given to me. So the census in 1991, and then the census in 2000 for all Malaysian citizens. They were very concerned about Malaysian citizens because the moment you include Malay, which includes Japanese or whatever subgroup, then it becomes difficult. Because then they all claim to be one. And worse still, the situation in Sabah. And Sabah is more difficult because of the fact that most of the Filipinos and people from Sulu and all this came back, and all the relationships they have had for decades and for generations. You can't even begin to talk how to separate. So I think in one way you can see in a lump sum said, okay, the government spends so much, but the product, the result, again, the majority is not able to solve its own problem. So I think this is what is happening in our country too, because there's so much planning in Malaysia. Planning. Everything you have planned. I mean, maybe you know that. But the process of they have ICU. I thought before ICU is sick people only. Probably said not the ICU. So, but it's interesting. Coordination is another problem. So many things just went through the floor. Many things. So these are the issues that we also have to address. Because I spent some time with Intan to do some work with them. And they are training government officers. I mean, they are training using SOPs and documents, but there's no thinking. Yeah, so I think we still have to resolve this problem, not only about the Malays, integrated, the whole thing must be integrated. That's why I suggested MITRA is not just one thing. There are many others, MITRA like or similar to MITRA. Jaya, the 𝙥𝙬𝙨, all these are interesting focus group that we have to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Prof. And also, we have heard a lot from both academicians who are well-known, respected. And thank you for your great questions. And now we have YB Kula with us. I think you are knowing it well, a very seasoned politician, also always sit with the community. I had the privilege to work with him closely in Ipoh, Kobara. Always whenever we call him to come visit the community, he's always there. And, people always look up to him and so forth. And let's hear from him. Let's some words from your side.
Thank you, James, Professor Denison Jayasooria, Professor Shamsul, Professor Marakudu, and many of my friends. I got no enemies here, no lovers. Not that I know. No, when Prof invited me 3-4 days ago, I said, I'm sure. When I come, I didn't see that Wednesday is cabinet day and post-cabinet. All the days today, Prime Minister had certain things to say about certain economies. So it took longer than what it is. So I'm sorry I'm delayed, but my fellow, like a chat, he came within 21 minutes from Raja, and very one speed he came. No, I think MITRA is very close to me, close to my heart. Over the years, the day it started, I raised questions and there was a lot of check and balance. Recently, when we took over government, I was appointed to the board of MITRA. I declined because I felt I should be outside to do the necessary things. Over the years, we're doing I can play a better part in that matter. But I'm very concerned about the nitty-gritty of MITRA. I think MITRA should go back to basics. Basically, how we start off the Malaysian Indian blueprint and make it more current, and then move on from that, rather than trying to find new ideas, new ventures, and spending money and that kind of thing. We all know what's the problem. We all know there's nothing very magical about it to address it. I am particularly very concerned, and I raised 2 weeks ago when Prime Minister announced that MITRA will be moved back to the Prime Minister Department. He announced it in the post cabinet when I was there, and I told the Prime Minister that some of you will know that when he was moved to the Unity Ministry, then you have legislation to move the money from Prime Minister Department to that ministry in the House of Representatives, Jayaraman, so actually technically there's no money in MITRA now. So when I raised the matter, he said that there will be some accommodation will be made for the money to be transferred immediately. That's one. Then I told him, he said the 100 billion doesn't make sense. Okay? I said, in my view, he started off by saying that there's a lot of quarrels, a lot of misunderstanding on it. I didn't want to say that. In the meeting with all the MPs, I said, there is an acute lack of magnanimity among us. We all want to be leaders. We all want to be champions. But we don't want to shoulder the responsibility. I keep on telling the people there, those who quarrel and those who are not quarreling, those who understood or not understanding, I say, look, who is our common enemy? None. We have to get back the community and get the money to them. It must be long term, it must be purposeful, it must be the social economic needs of the Indians should be enhanced. That is a primary issue. Other than who's getting it, who's more powerful, who can do it, all that will come back. It's a question of, I always say this, the long arm of the law will catch up with all this nonsense that one is doing. Not today, maybe tomorrow, whatever it is. Now coming back to this, I said, MITRA, we need more money to be pumped in. He smiled and he laughed and said it. Then I told him, I said, you were Deputy Prime Minister in 1999. I don't know whether Professor Paniirselvam was MP at that time. I moved a motion and he voted against it. I moved a motion when the South Indian Labour Fund was being wound up. I went around the country and came and moved a motion and said, from my studies and all that, I didn't have the advantage of that time of getting great thoughts like him from Professor Denison and all that. But I said, the government should set aside 500 billion. That's what I said in 1999. When I moved to motion, and obviously all the first, we were mosquito party. We had only 11 MPs, Professor, if you remember. The DAP had only 11 MPs. Now we studied that, I moved to motion and seconded, and then anyway, we successfully lost it. But what I'm trying to say is, I told the Prime Minister, even 1999, we need 500 billion. How much we need now? And how many years behind we are in all this? It's not the money alone, it is other things now. But having said that, finally on the ethics, other than the MPs involvement on that, is on the money. It's bad enough, it's not enough money. நீயே பிச்சைக்கார அதுக்கு மேல இது கொடுக்குற காசு கூட செலவு பண்ணுறது. I consistently say this, the community doesn't react to this. I'm very sad because when I was in government or opposition, I keep on saying every year how much of money has not been spent. What is wrong? Something is wrong somewhere. We cannot get these kind of things done. I mean, this is ridiculous. If you tell this federal government, out of the 100 million, you cannot even spend that 100 million, something is wrong. And I took statistics out of it. It's about now about 250 million or what. And we have been so nice. The Indian community is poor. They are so nice and generous. Return back to the Prime Minister. I told the Prime Minister, I said there must be an avenue to return back. Obviously, he didn't say yes or no, but other KSUs have said not possible. I said anything is possible. Nothing is impossible. You just prepare a paper, ask the cabinet to approve it, that can be done. We don't have to beg and borrow. The money that is outstanding, it must come back to the community. Right? I think that, and we must pull up our socks and get together. Enough, the quarreling, the misunderstanding. We must be very clearly focused. Okay? I think we should stop immediately all this buckle, this hampers, which is nonsense. Like somebody, one speaker just now said, the family problems, all that, people take money and all that. I think it must be long term. One of the easiest and most beneficial things will be given. I mean, scaling, rescaling, upscaling, cross-scaling, this is phenomenal. Whether you like it or not, many of us who wants to go study law or medicine or engineering, artificial intelligence is going to overtake all these. Cyber security is going to overtake all this. our children should be encouraged to do that. And this is where MITRA can play a part, my view. And I think MITRA must be used, enhanced to play a part. I got a lot more to say, but I don't want to labor on these issues. Thank you for listening. My apologies, I came late. We can always have a discussion on this. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you everyone for the insightful contribution and also question and answer section. So finally we have came to the most important section, which is the official launch of the book, MITRA Past, Present and Future Possibilities. So this act is going to be a marking beginning for all the ends of the readers. So to launch this book, I will welcome 𝗋𝙗𝗎𝗓𝗔, Deputy Minister of Law and Institutional Reform in the Prime Minister's Department. From 𝗋𝙗 Senator Isaiah Jacob, the Committee Member of APPGM SDG. From Ulung Datuk Dr. Samsul Amri, our District Director.
Music.
So let's launch the book.
You can sign anyway.
Write the amount I want.
You can write the amount when you donate for when is there? That's like looks like a dollar sign.
Let's welcome Ms. Zoel, the Director of My SDG Academic, for the closing remarks.
First of all, congratulations to Prof. Dr. Denison, my boss, and also a very good mentor. My SDG Academy is a training arm for the society and also APPGM. We do a lot of capacity building, training, awareness about SDG. We work together with UNDP, Intan for the capacity building. But another thing is very interesting, and it's also the intellectual I would say powered by Dr. Denison is My SDG Academy is also a platform for people to share their insight. He always encourages us, and one interesting thing I learned from him is, Zoel and the team, please challenge me. We need intellectual debate. Alright, I think this is what that needed by the community and what needed really start from the team here. And the other things that I learned from Dr. Denison is no one is too stupid to share about your insight. If you have a voice, just share about it. And therefore, in our program, Dr. have suggested a lot of methods to share about what you have observed and what you think about it. Because everyone deserves a voice. For example, in our My SDG conference, which is coming to the third year, and we have even conducted the international conference with 16 countries representative. The conference is not only for seasonal researchers, we appreciate very systematic research. But at the same time, it also provides a platform for people who are working on ground to tell their story through storytelling or through case study, through the secondary data analysis. I think this is the way that we can move forward together. And here, once again, thank you very much for spending your beautiful day here together. And for next, let's connect together. And this is the platform, the My SDG Academy. It's a platform for everyone. If you have a voice, let's tell it. In a way, maybe we can work together, reform some sort of 10 books, right? I remember that. Okay, maybe some booklets. I think our voice, our insight, our fruits of thought is deserved to be heard, and it will become a part of the history. Alright, so for the next, this is SDG Info Zone. We have one WhatsApp group is actually keep everyone updated with whatever information that we have, upcoming conferences. We have another 3 conferences lined up, and talking about poverty, talking about statelessness, and talking about the environmental issues. And we have a lot of programs coming up that we can actually connect and bring the minority voice to become maybe in one way, become very significant and mature. Alright, so let's move together. Thank you once again for your time and be here this afternoon. Thank you, Dato'.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Doyle, for your great words. So the words of ending are always the beginning of a journey. So thank you. So Dato' முதல்ல சொல்லிட்டாரு ஒரு cup of tea போடுவோமான்னு சொல்லிட்டாரு. So now is the time for a cup of tea, and everyone take this opportunity to ask signature from our author after buying the book, and also fellowship. So thank you everyone for your time and also being here, and thank you once again.